Hi everyone, Patty here. This is video number 2. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my backstory, about how I came to develop some chronic pain issues, had a little bit of a struggle with some anxiety and depression off and on for a number of years, and how I came to recover from it. So I had a pretty great upbringing, honestly. I had grew up in a loving home with 2 parents who got along. I was well provided for. I had 3 older brothers who, you know, were typical boys. They argued sometimes, and they were typically insensitive to me at times. But really, all in all, I had a pretty great gig growing up. I did okay in school, and I had friends, and I had the opportunity to do some showing of horses, do some equestrian activities. So really a pretty privileged upbringing. Was it perfect? No. Is anything perfect? No, I don't really think perfection is a thing, honestly. But, certainly from the outside looking in, it was pretty good. So I'm not the poster child for the typical person to develop sort of mind-body manifestations, or as Dr. John Sarno referred to it as TMS, which stands for tension myositis syndrome. But lo and behold, I developed it anyway. I moved through my life. I got married. I had 2 amazing boys. And around the age of 40, things started to go south. I started to have some hormonal imbalances. I wasn't sleeping very well. I started to have pretty ongoing pain in my back, struggle with headaches. And at one point, there was an incident with a member of my family that involved an injury, and it was the straw that broke the camel's back. And I slid into a period of time where I was really anxious, and a little bit of a period of some anxiety attacks, and that slid into a depression that the worst of which lasted probably about a year, maybe a little bit longer. But it was a really tough, dark time in my life. I didn't feel like I could be there for my family in the way I wanted to be. I couldn't be there for my clients in the way I wanted to be. And it was a real struggle. Day to day, it was a struggle. Getting up in the morning was difficult. And I would just try to get through my day and get to the other end of it so I could go back to bed, and usually lie there and sleep very fitfully, if at all. So yeah, it was really tough. So when I look back at that now, I think, what was the problem? What led me to that? Thankfully, around that time, shortly after I, probably a couple of years after I started to have some of the mental health manifestations of this, I came across a book by the name of Healing Back Pain, which was written by Dr. John Sarno. And it was a game changer for me. Dr. Sarno believed that a lot of chronic health issues, whether they're mental or physical, excuse me, can be attributed to repressed emotions in the absence of any other acute disease process. So as I was reading through that book, honestly, it was as if I was reading about myself on almost every page. And he laid out a profile for someone that tends to suffer from these sorts of issues. And it's someone that has a very strong social conscience, someone that tends to be perfectionistic, very sensitive, tries to make everything right for everyone around them that they care about, and generally has their own needs pretty much on the bottom of the list, even if they're on the list at all. So as I said, as I'm reading through these descriptions of the personality type of someone that tends to suffer from mind-body manifestations, it was It was like I was looking in a mirror. So this put me on a track to study all of Dr. Sarno's books, as well as the work of a number of other authors and medical doctors and different types of therapists that specialize in understanding mind-body syndromes, TMS. There's a whole bunch of different acronyms that have developed in recent years to describe this, but it all kind of is the same thing. It's the idea that our body will show physiological symptoms when we have been pushing down our emotions for a long enough period of time. That energy those emotions create, if we don't find a healthy way to express it, and let's be honest, a lot of us don't know how to express it. We were never taught how to express it. And in fact, in a lot of cases, we were taught not to express it. The whole, suck it up, be tough, put a smile on your face and keep going. It could be so much worse. Most of us have heard some version of that as a child or as a young person. It really doesn't serve us very well to think that way. Now, I'm not suggesting that we should all go around crying and bawling and freaking out all the time, because that doesn't accomplish anything either. But finding a way to healthfully, calmly, in a nourishing way, express the emotions that we're feeling around all the events in our lives, the relationships in our lives, is so important. Which leads me to where I am today. I've spent the last several years studying a number of different modalities, studying TMS extensively, and this is all on the heels of spending 25 years being a registered massage therapist and treating people with both acute and chronic pain syndromes for most of my adult life. So it's given me a pretty unique perspective, combined with my own experience, to be able to see these things in a slightly different way than maybe the mainstream sees them. And I'm happy to report that on the heels of all this studying and work that I've done on myself, I no longer identify as someone who suffers from chronic pain, anxiety, or depression. This is not to say that I'm not human and that I don't feel pain from time to time, or that I don't feel anxious from time to time, or that I don't feel sad from time to time. Just because you do the TMS mind-body syndrome healing does not mean you turn into a robot. It just means that you're able to understand the symptoms and the emotions and the feelings that you have in your body and in your mind, and treat them with care, and treat yourself gently, and recognize that you're human and that it's normal and okay to feel these things. But that's a very different thing than being slapped with a label and thinking that now I'm this person that suffers with fill in the blank. Whatever mind-body manifestation you want to refer to. And that list can be very long. It could be chronic migraines. It could be fibromyalgia. It could be chronic back pain. It could be tension headaches, anxiety, depression. The list is long, my friends. But I'm here to tell you that if you have been given no obvious acute explanation for your symptoms, that there may be another way to look at them and understand them. And that if you're willing to open your mind to that idea and do the work that you need to do to free yourself from it, it's possible. I am an example of this. I am back to feeling like a older, wiser version of myself. And I'm really grateful for that every day. I'm grateful for the difficulties that I had. I'm grateful for the suffering that I did, because without it, I would never have learned this different way of looking at things. Anyway, if any of this resonates with you or sounds familiar to you, and you would like to know more or have a discussion with me about what my experience has been and how I might be able to help you let go of all those labels, and create a life that you're excited about, that you look forward to getting out of bed every morning and going out and making the most of the time that you have. I'm so grateful for all of it, and I'm grateful for you for listening to what I have to say here today. Thanks, and I look forward to hearing from you.